Welcome to the Meehan Mission Podcast, and today I'm introducing our community to Alana Newman. Alana is the founder of Brand Therapy. She's an author, and she's also the host of her podcast, The Speaker Salon. So she is a very creative strategist, and she has success in the music industry, documentary filmmaking, and content production. So Alana is one of those movers and shakers that helps you identify and craft your identity, especially when it comes to making lasting impressions online, because this world is so competitive nowadays. So if you need help with your branding, then I hope you reach out to Alana, and I am excited to share her expertise with you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Meehan Mission Podcast. And of course, as always, I like movers and shakers and people that can bring us a wealth of information to help further our careers, our health, just get us in the know. And today's guest is Alana Newman. And Alana and I actually met, guess where, in the medical freedom movement. Of course, where all of us disruptors kind of gather. And I was just so excited that she agreed to do a podcast because everyone needs to figure out about marketing, branding, what all is actually going on. And Alana is just at the top of the field. So Alana, if you would please introduce yourself to our listeners. I'd love for you to give a little bit of background on you and with your company, Brand Therapy.
Thank you, Cathy. I adore you. I'm so glad we met in Austin. And we've online been entangled for a few years because it was you and Dr. Meehan who helped me with my kids during COVID and the mask mandates. And you guys were the people who allowed my kids to breathe freely at school when they were requiring doctors, the medical exemption. So I am eternally grateful for you and for Jim for providing that. And my interest in health freedom and the medical freedom movement it's really informed just my role and how I want to contribute. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, but my history is art school and branding, and I'm basically really good at Photoshop. And when COVID was announced, I knew that it was a scam, and I started building a new brand called Health Freedom Summit, an online conference, and was working that for 2 years. And trying to give our people more dignity. So with conferences, with branding, with associations and graphics and imaging, we were competing with Big Pharma in the COVID narrative. And now I have a book. It's called Beauty First Method, Instantly Communicate Your Value. And I'm basically trying to help our people compete with Big Pharma and with our story, with our image, with our trustworthiness, and with our offers, because what they try to do is they try to destroy everybody's businesses, make it so that we can't go to work or participate in society unless we take their shots. And so I think the remedy to that is we are independent. We have our own businesses. We're doing our own thing. And that requires branding and marketing. And so I'm really fighting for freedom. And my biggest skill is that I have a trained eye and I know how to use Photoshop.
Yeah. Well, and I can attest to that. You have a great eye. In fact, I see a lot of marketing materials and programs, and I've always loved your branding. And you can tell when somebody just has that natural eye and they get the words right, they get the layout right, they get the colors right, and they get your attention. And, in today's world, you're right. The competition is fierce. And especially the fact that there's a lot of us that are independent, like we're an independent clinic. I mean, how do we compete with these huge corporations that have unlimited budgets and they have unlimited resources. So that's really why I wanted to bring you on, because when it comes to branding and imaging, that I'm like, how do you go about finding a specific person's, like, what their brand's going to be like? Where do you start?
It is so personal and excruciating for people to build their own brands that's based off of like their soul. Yep. And it's so crushing when you are rejected based off of like what essentially comes down to an expression of your soul. Like for you to make an offer and put yourself out there on the marketplace of ideas and the marketplace of I guess it's not just ideas, but products, and, your babies, your brain children. You put your brain children out into the world. And when people are like, oh, no, thanks, it's soul crushing, or it can be. And right. So it's a delicate process of like collaborating with someone you trust and iterating, you iterate, you attempt that, and you put it out in the world. And what do you think of that? And I have a process, like a methodology that I work with people when they're building something new, that kind of takes some of the difficulty away. And the first thing is like, who do you serve? That's the number one thing, is like, whose problems do you not mind getting all up in and suffering alongside people? And like with the case of Mindset for Kids and Meehan MD, like, you guys serve parents and kids, and so you suffer alongside parents and their traumas and their woes and their worries. I've tried to kind of narrow my audience down to the health freedom movement to the best of my ability, but freedom-minded people in general. Like, I'm interested in your problems. I'm interested in helping you like overcome things. And I think that's where it starts. And then from there, after the who do you serve, it's what it's vibes. It's so much of just figuring out how do you present yourself in a way where you're not ashamed to show up, and how do you make it so that people are proud to be associated with you, which is like such a gut-wrenching process, to like make yourself someone that people would be proud to be associated with. But that's what kind of branding comes down to, is like,
are like people a brand proud? Loyalty or something. I've kind of heard that phrase thrown out there. If you can,
brand loyalty. And when your product or your service, it is intertwined with another person's identity, like you have produced something that makes them feel like, yes, that's me. That's my identity. You know what I mean? Like,
love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so important. Well, and not only that, but people are kind of also seeking community nowadays. And so they can find community in your brand and your product, and that's going to just increase that loyalty there, which is why it is so important. If anybody is, for example, if you're going out on your own, and you do need somebody to work with to help you along those lines, because you can have the best product in the world, but if you can't get it out there, and I mean, Alana, you know how competitive it is. I mean, there's social media marketing that we have to deal with. I mean, first impressions says so much. And I'm sure that, you got to scoop them up right immediately with, graphics. That's what I'm looking for. All of that. And just making sure that, whoever's looking for branding or whatever, that they actually, work with a professional that's going to save them. I personally think a lot of time and resources to do it right the first time, because the sooner that you can get out there and get your message out there, the better, which is great. But but I wanted to step back and talk about your book. Title is Beauty First Method: Instantly Communicate Your Value. And there's a lot of pressure out there. There's a lot of challenges because we as individuals are competing. And I like the note that you had mentioned, that especially like as women are getting older, that, we have to compete. And well, besides competing when it comes to technology, which is not my favorite, there's so many other things. So what does that title, how did you come up with that title?
Yeah. Thank you. I did not put my face on the book cover because it's not really about your face. It's about beauty as an aesthetics in general. I define as evidence of a life-giving force. That's my definition of beauty. Beauty is evidence of a life-giving force. And like a lot of people, especially women, the first thing we think about is female beauty. Um, and we have these conventional beauty standards of like, uh, you know, who's a conventional, like Jenny McCarthy's in our movement. She's like the most beautiful, like icon of beauty in our movement. Yeah. And she really is, and she deserves it. And a female beauty, like if you think about it, it goes down to like evidence of fertility, which is evidence of a life-giving force. So you have like long, thick hair and clear skin, you know, like free of disease. That's like evidence of a life-giving force. But if you apply it to any kind of personal brand, like older women who are past their fertile window are still there's still evidence of a life-giving force, and that could be like just great energy and vitality and like an obvious wisdom or good taste. You know, that's evidence of life-giving force. For men, it always goes back to like provider protector energy of like, okay, this person's smart enough, this person knows how to fix things. There's like a warrior spirit. There's like, if I associate myself with that person, I'm going to live longer and I'm going to do better. And that can, and you could, there's all different ways of providing evidence that you are someone who is helpful to know, because if I learn from that person, I'm going to survive. And then in our environments, like I'm Catholic, I'm a convert, and we're Catholics are good at this. We build cathedrals, and there's like stained glass windows and pretty interior design, and what the church got right was they realized that first you pull people in with beauty, and there's something about structure and environment where it's like if it's aesthetically pleasing, then it shows respect for the viewer, and it shows automatic love. Like if you take the effort to make your environment beautiful, what it says automatically to your target market, I guess, is that this person cares about my pleasure, cares about my soul, respects me enough to care about the details like that, versus just when you go to ugly kind of like Soviet buildings and it's just soulless, you're like, these people, they don't think of me as a human. It's just pure functionality. And so I think when we're crafting environments and crafting digital architecture in our spaces, our websites, our apps, when we go that extra mile to make it aesthetically beautiful, it just instantly communicates respect for the customer.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I just in the back of my mind, I kept thinking of even as makes it welcoming too. I mean, think about when you have people over to your home, you don't want a cluttered home with trash and, pillows thrown over and everything. It's just cluttered when you walked in and it's chaotic. Instead, you pick up before somebody comes over. You make sure that the floor's been swept and all that. It's like you make it like a welcoming, inviting environment, and which is right. The same thing for your advertising and branding. You want it to be welcoming. So, not, I guess, standoffish. But and I don't really think a lot of people have that natural thought process or mind to understand that, which again is why it's always good to seek out a professional to especially for the details, because you guys get the details too, for sure. Yeah. So we are an independent clinic, and again, I said sometimes it's so difficult competing with the big pharma, their huge budgets, and so I'm guessing that you would suggest branding needs to be on point to compete with those, right?
Yeah, I think it's our bet. Well, the advantages that we have in the health freedom movement is people, they have totally lost trust in the medical establishment because of COVID. So we have an advantage. We have an advantage with the people who were right about COVID, people are now listening to us more.
Yeah.
But we also, the fact that our movement avoids poison and we're better at nutrition is we do have naturally more vitality. Like if you compare Rachel Levine to Bobby Kennedy, the transgender HHS secretary who's
completely different,
a man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could just,
I'm like,
compare the two, like
common sense. I mean, that to me is like common sense, people. So
anyway. Yeah. So when Bobby showed up doing backflips off of cliffs and put like shirtless push-ups and these pull-ups and stuff, whoever came up with that idea was genius, because it just automatically communicates like he knows what he's talking about when it comes to health, especially when there's comparisons to Rachel Levine and all the half dead public health policy people. And so I think one pretty simple way that people in our movement can compete is just by being visible. Like, yes, graphics and logos on it. Like, I can make a logo for anyone who wants a logo, but like, if you are 10 times healthier than your fat doctor next door that's working at a corporate hospital, just film yourself in your vitality. And that automatically makes the point that you know what you're talking about and they don't.
Right. It totally sets you apart. Which actually, you just used the words, you used brand and you used logo. So let's hit on brands and logos, because some people think it's kind of the same thing, but it's really not, because one is a lot more in depth.
Yeah. Logo is the stamp, where it's really like the least of what a brand is. But people, they want their stamp. They want the what they put in the circle on their Twitter feed or their Instagram. But a brand is everything that makes someone trust and recognize you. So if the people that you associate yourself with becomes part of your branding. One of the things that I think has been most powerful with my summits, like I did the Health Freedom Summit, I did Courage and Health Series, is when you have, and you're and then the relaunch of the Courage and Health Series. So when you are next to 30 other faces of people who have proven themselves, and Dr. Meehan, when he was alive, he was in Health Freedom Summit, and so his content on masks and breathing and everything he did, coupled like side by side with Bobby Kennedy and Del Bigtree, and like everybody helps each other so that we're building like a big team. And so the people that you associate yourself with is part of branding. There's color psychology, and I always encourage people to find their signature color, because color has a vibrational energy, which I'm not to get too woo, but everybody knows that there's a really big difference between black and red as a color combination and like pastels. Like, yeah, a huge psychological difference. And I think people need to spend a day learning about color psychology, doing their if your face is going to be in places, like do a color schematic on what colors you look good in, and then decide what vibe using color that you want to project. This is why banks always use navy blue. Navy blue is the most trustworthy color.
Never thought about that, but I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Navy suits are the best-selling suit color because it automatically conveys trustworthiness. And so I think what the Health Freedom Movement, Meehan, really needs to spend some time curating is our trustworthiness. And we needed to take a look at the colors that convey that. And it's not neon green. It's not.
No. I mean, neon green is cute though. But
for kid playful colors. We can use our neons, we can use our primary colors. But you got to know your audience, and if trustworthiness is the thing that we want. And I think if we're going to go after the movable middle and be seen as the leaders in science, we need to just take extra steps for trustworthiness.
Yeah. So you mentioned Maha, which to me, that's a movement on its own, which is just, it's kind of, it started at this little ripple and it's turned into this big wave. And I'd like to get your thoughts on what they're doing successfully for branding. And I mean, do you have any recommendations for where they could tweak besides on colors?
Maha. So when I think of Maha, I think of Bobby. So there's always a strong personal brand, just like Steve Jobs had Apple, and you know, Colonel Sanders had KFC. Like there's always a leader, and so Maha definitely succeeded with, they found their leader. And I guess it's like a Trump Bobby duo, but it's really Bobby, like, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing that they've done really well, is they found a strong leader that people want to be associated with, who is trustworthy.
Right. And a leader that leads by example, which is, that's key. Absolutely key.
Yeah. I think Maha has definitely done a good job of communicating their wins, which is another thing associated with branding. Like, it's your job to communicate your wins. And so regular, like, schedule it into your calendar. Like on Wednesdays, we're going to communicate our achievements. And so people associate in their imagination, like, here are all the achievements, and it's good to be associated with you because you're on the winning team. So they do a good job of that. And celebrating. They have Maha balls. They have fun events that people can participate in. Gosh, if I were to critique anything, I don't think I dare publicly critique anything related.
Well, it doesn't have to be negative. So we call that constructive criticism. Yeah. So, but no, I mean, I think they're doing fabulously well. I mean, you know, you also, the thing about being in the medical freedom movement, which, you know, Jim and I experienced it, I mean, for a decade now, from when Vaxxed came out, is you are going to be attacked by the other side. I mean, and, you know, that is a constant battle. I mean, to this day, it's still a constant battle. I mean, I think right now, you know, our biggest enemy right now is the American Academy of Pediatrics, with all of the changes in the vaccines that, you know, Bobby Kennedy, and that they're actually getting done and creating this awareness of the corruption in there. You've got the American Academy of Pediatrics. I mean, they're just putting out crap. I cannot stand, but they still have an audience. I don't understand that. I mean, they have an audience and they have a supportive base. And how much of that do you think is like made up? And especially with AI nowadays, I mean, and bots and that kind of thing, because when you start seeing the actual lack of data in safety studies, and, you know, and I'll just use the example of taking Hep B out of the mandated child vaccine schedule for the CDC on day 1 of birth. How anybody can say that was a bad thing, right? I just don't understand. So when you see online, people are still supporting it and they want it back, and they think, oh, we're going to bring all this disease back and everything else. I mean, is that the American Academy of Pediatrics just making crap up and putting it out there?
Gosh, that's a good question.
I mean, because I just don't understand that you can have one topic and two completely different, two completely different sides. And it baffles me. We've had it since, like I said, since Vaxxed came out. I mean, we got the trolls and and all of that. It's I don't know. I don't know what to do with all that.
I hear what you're saying, and there's like cognitive dissonance there.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
is it AstroTurf, this like fake grassroots? They spend money on fake grassroots movements where it's like the Somali daycare stuff. It's fake. It's somebody's paying for the fraud. I think the American Academy of Pediatrics has money because of Big Pharma, and they use that money to frame. It's like lipstick on a pig. So they have they have a really expensive frame, but it's gosh, what's that artist? Deschamps. Do you remember it was like postmodern art? There's this famous, it was like a urinal, there's a fine artist who put a urinal in a museum, in an art museum, and called it fine art, and it was totally scandalous. Do you know this about art history?
No, I'm gonna have to. I will Google that and see if I can't find a picture of it to put up in here.
I think it's kind of touches on what we're talking about. It's like it's not true. It's not beautiful. It's really ugly. But because they have the access to an art museum, a nice art museum is essentially one big frame. And so when people put bad art in a big expensive frame, then there's this confusion that happens of like, oh, are we supposed to think that this is good? Are we supposed to think that this is quality because it's at the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art? And same here with medicine. You have these institutions who they have really expensive frames, like the name, the American Academy of Pediatrics. It's like, whoa, it's so regal in its name, which shows you the power of a name right there. Like, names are important.
Yes. Yeah.
But really, it's a urinal. It
is a urinal. I want to say. The American Academy of Pediatrics is a urinal. That's all it is, people. It's a fancy urinal. So,
and it's a process of getting people everybody wants to identify with the fancy thing, with the elite thing. And so there's a psychological process that has to happen where you transform people's identities. And it's like the Emperor's New Kids. It's like there's got to be some kid who's willing to shout out, like, you guys, the Emperor's naked. That's a urinal. This is crap. And then people have to, nobody wants to be the one who's like not cool, who like doesn't see the thing, who's we got to do that with our movement, is getting all the pediatricians on board to realize like they've been participating in a lie.
Yeah, they have. Well, I mean, it's happening. It's not happening as fast as I would like it to see, but that's why we keep doing what we're doing. That's why, that's my main topic, is talking about pediatricians, and do we really need all of them? And we won't even get into that now. We'll get into that later. But I also, since I've got you, I want to talk about social media and like Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter. And, they did not have those when, back when I was a pharmaceutical rep 30 years ago. It's, but how is that influencing people's brands nowadays? I mean, is it just moving so fast? I mean, and one day everything needs to be on Facebook, and then the next day everything needs to be on Instagram, or you need a TikTok account. And I will be honest with you, it's exhausting.
Yeah,
like, it is exhausting. And so do you have any recommendations for your clients when it comes to social media?
Yeah, I think it's in the health freedom movement has to be extra careful about this, because they deplatform us, and the
yes.
I grew we had Health Freedom Summit's Facebook ads account got completely shut down. It ruined all of the businesses, not just the summit. And I grew up in Cupertino, so the heart of Silicon Valley, and the culture there worships money and they worship technology. And so there's a ton of cross mingling of big tech, big pharma, biotech. they're the same company, like same umbrella companies that own Google, also own pharmaceutical companies. And so Google has like a chief health officer and all these, they have massive, like incestuous relationships with pharma. And I don't think it's reasonable to expect Facebook, Meta, Instagram, like especially TikTok, they're not going to make life easy for us. And I am investing my time on a platform called Skool, Skool, and it basically bridges online education, community, and social media. And it's run by a guy named, it's basically the two main partners in it are Alex Hormozy and Sam Ovens. Alex Hormozy he's on his way to becoming a billionaire, and he got his money building gyms. So he's like kind of a bodybuilder guy, and I guarantee you he is freedom oriented, and he's the least likely mega millionaire to deplatform people based off of vaccine concerns and all that. And Sam Ovens is kind of he's like a hippie coder, very freedom oriented. They're not Mark Zuckerberg. They're not like Illuminati. I'm not going to say Mark Zuckerberg's Illuminati.
They're not lizard people.
They're not lizard people, Satanists, like undercover Satanists. I'm showing my cards a little too much, but I think Skool, for people who want to build a community and they want to teach health on some level and monetize kind of the information related to lifestyle changes that actually produce good health. I think Skool is a good platform. And then Rumble is definitely the free speech platform. And they just came out with like a premium where you can post once to Rumble and then it cross posts to YouTube and all the other platforms. I want to even say Facebook. And so, I think investing in Rumble, I think is a good use of time, especially now that you can cross-platform. But I do not think YouTube is trustworthy for health topics. I tried to post a podcast on holistic cures for cancer, and it got removed by community guidelines. So YouTube's not a free speech platform.
Yeah, no, it's not. Many of my husband Jim's YouTube videos got removed. So, it's like, I know, it's just so aggravating. It's so aggravating. But that's okay. I mean, and then new avenues pop up, like we have Rumble. So it's just, as one disappears, another new one's going to come up to help because there's such a demand.
Yeah,
there really is such a demand. But I just know that as far as like the social media goes and everything, and I mean, what is it? The mainstream media. I mean, those guys have just fallen like crazy. So
nobody trusts them.
And, which is, again, I mean, that's all the better for us and for alternative things like podcasting. And you're right. And just getting out there and being visible, being in your community. Those are some priceless things, absolutely priceless things which I'm thankful that, we got to meet up and that's really been, I always tell people, COVID was really, really bad, but, you look at all the blessings that came out of COVID, which is all of these organizations, they might've been gun rights and free speech and religion and whatever, stay at home moms. And it just like, brought everybody together. And I think it's, I don't think anybody was anticipating what would happen when you got all of these people together. And not only that, but, most of us are kind of disruptors internally. So
I'm very disobedient. I cannot be controlled to my detriment.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. And it's great that you have, as you've grown, you're taking all that energy and that personality and your character traits and and you found something absolutely fabulous to do and to share with people. which is helping them with their branding and everything. But so Alana, is there anything else that you would like to tell our listeners? Any projects coming up or something that we need to know? And don't forget how we can get a hold of you. So,
well, thank you. I am here. My role in the health freedom movement is to help other people succeed. And just, I think the best advice I can give to, like, let's say you're trying to be independent and get out of corporate healthcare and do something on your own. My best advice is to just work on, like, think about what would it take for you to be proud, for you to share yourself, because visibility is the name of the game. So you got to be comfortable online. And so for some people, that's going to be the thing that helps them overcome their visibility wound is getting a haircut and getting a new wardrobe, because it's like that's the thing that's holding them back, because they're not proud of how they themselves look. For other people, it's going to be like their website, like they don't have anything tailored there, and so they're like, just really take a moment, like think, like assess your central nervous system and just think, what is the barrier that's keeping me from being seen, being willing to be seen out there in the idea marketplace? Like, what am I ashamed of? And then just like go fix it. Just get rid of that barrier, get rid of that block. And then if they want my help with it, and I've got a whole like process and methodology and questions and like a step 1, step 2, step 3, the best place would be to go to my school community, which is school.com/Alana, ALANA, school.com/Alana. And they can read the book. That's, cheap and easy. And that'll help them get through some of the blocks too.
Well, I think that's great. And I just know that being around you radiates that, electricity and that motivation and that spirit that we need to keep going, because even though we're winning a bunch of little, a little battle here and a little battle here when it comes to medical freedom, we still have a long, long way to go. So we can't sit back. We need as many people out there fighting for our medical freedom rights, talking to other people, sharing podcasts, sharing videos, sharing resources. It's a nonstop negotiable. We need to keep doing it every day. And Alana, thank you so much for your appearance today on the Meehan Mission Podcast. And I am sure that we will be moving and shaking more in this coming year. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, Cathy.
Thanks, Alana.